Imagine being able to think more clearly, solve problems more effectively, and learn faster than ever before. Imagine unlocking a new way of approaching challenges that makes everything in your life easier, more productive, and more creative. That is the promise of the 5 Elements of Effective Thinking by Edward B. Berger and Michael Starbird, a powerful guide to improving the way you think by using 5 timeless principles inspired by the classical elements: earth, fire, air, water, and the human element of change. The core message of the book is simple but transformative. Good thinking is not a gift. It is a skill that can be learned, practiced, and mastered. Great thinkers are not born with special brains. They train themselves to think deeply, ask questions, and learn from mistakes. The authors write, "Thinking is a lifelong journey, and every step forward makes you more capable than before." Today, we are breaking down the most important lessons in the 5 Elements of Effective Thinking and showing how you can apply them to boost your problem-solving abilities, creativity, confidence, and success in school, work, and life. The first element is earth, representing the foundation of effective thinking. Earth teaches us to build strong foundations by understanding ideas deeply rather than superficially. Most people try to memorize information or rush through tasks without truly understanding them. But real learning requires slowing down and asking fundamental questions. What does this really mean? Why is this true? How does it connect to what I already know? Where are the gaps in my understanding? Deep understanding comes from digging into the core, not just skimming the surface. When students struggle in school or professionals get stuck on a project, the root cause is often unclear foundational understanding. For example, a musician may memorize notes, but will never perform beautifully until they understand structure and emotion. A scientist may memorize formulas, but will never innovate until they understand why they work. True mastery is not about memorizing answers, but about gaining clarity. The authors write, "Do not be content with shallow answers. Push yourself to master the basics so clearly that everything else becomes easier." When you strengthen your foundation, you build confidence and unlock creativity. The stronger your understanding, the more flexible your thinking becomes, because every new idea has something meaningful to connect to. The second element is fire, which represents passion, energy, and the willingness to make mistakes. The authors argue that mistakes are not failures. They are the most valuable source of progress. Most people avoid mistakes because they fear embarrassment, judgment, or imperfection. But fear stops growth. Every mistake contains information about what does not work and what you need to improve. The authors write, "Mistakes are a sign that you are trying something hard enough to grow." They encourage shifting your mindset from avoiding errors to embracing them as opportunities. Mistakes help you see weaknesses, refine understanding, and identify new paths. Just like athletes review game footage and musicians practice difficult passages repeatedly, thinkers grow by analyzing errors. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before creating the light bulb. When asked how he handled failure, he famously responded, "I discovered thousands of ways that did not work." Every great innovation comes with a trail of mistakes behind it. The message is clear. If you want to think better, you must be willing to be wrong. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. The more mistakes you make intentionally and reflect on thoughtfully, the faster you elevate your thinking. The third element is air, representing curiosity and the power of asking questions. Questions are the engine of thinking. When you ask questions, you open the mind, challenge assumptions, and discover new possibilities. Instead of waiting for answers, Become the person who asks better questions, such as, what am I not seeing? What is another way to look at this? What assumptions am I accepting without noticing? What if I did the opposite? Better questions lead to better ideas. In the classroom, students who ask questions learn faster and understand deeper. In business, innovators create breakthroughs by asking questions others never considered. Steve Jobs once asked, "Why does a computer have to look like a machine?" That question changed technology and design forever. When faced with a challenge, the right question can unlock a path forward that was invisible before. The authors write, "Answers close thinking, questions open thinking. If you want to transform your mind, practice curiosity as a daily habit. Every conversation, every book, every challenge contains hidden possibilities if you ask the right questions." The fourth element is water, representing flow, connection, and adaptability. Water teaches us to see ideas as part of a continuous evolving process rather than isolated pieces. True understanding flows from connecting concepts, noticing patterns, and seeing how ideas relate over time. Knowledge is not a rigid structure, it is alive. For example, breakthroughs in medicine came from chemistry, breakthroughs in transportation came from physics, and breakthroughs in creativity often come from mixing different fields. Instead of memorizing facts, think about how information can combine, transform, or expand into something new. Innovation rarely comes from completely new ideas. It comes from connecting existing ideas in a new way. The smartphone was not invented from scratch. It was created by combining a phone, a camera, a computer, and the internet. The authors write, "Thinking is not about holding ideas tightly. It is about letting ideas move, merge, and grow. When you allow ideas to flow, you build mental flexibility. You learn faster after every new experience because your thinking becomes open, dynamic, and creative." The fifth element is change, representing transformation and continuous improvement. The authors emphasize that effective thinking is not a destination, it is a practice. You do not become a great thinker once. You become a better thinker every day. Change means making small improvements over time by applying what you learn, reflecting on progress, and adjusting. Growth does not require dramatic reinvention. It requires small, consistent adjustments. If you become just 1% better each day, the compounding effect becomes life-changing. Few people fail because they lack potential. Most fail because they give up too early or assume change requires something massive. The authors write, "You become a better thinker by thinking better. You change your life by changing your thoughts." The more you practice deep thinking, embrace mistakes, ask questions, and connect ideas, the more capable you become. Change is the element that ties the others together. It reminds us that learning never ends. So how do you apply the 5 elements in your daily life? Start with one element and practice it intentionally. For earth, identify something you understand only on the surface and study it deeply. For fire, take on something challenging and allow yourself to make mistakes. For air, ask powerful questions throughout your day. For water, connect ideas across different fields. For change, commit to small daily improvements. When you approach thinking as a skill rather than a passive habit, you unlock control over your mind instead of letting your mind control you. Thinking is not something that happens automatically. It is a skill you develop over time. The greatest thinkers in history were not born brilliant. They built habits of thinking that transformed their minds and shaped the world. The big takeaway from the 5 elements of effective thinking is this: You have the power to improve the way you think. You are not limited by talent or intelligence. You are limited only by the strategies you use. When you apply the 5 elements consistently, you become more curious, more confident, more creative, and more capable. Thinking is not about having the right answers. It is about learning how to find them. As the authors write, you can shape your mind the way a sculptor shapes clay. Thinking is your tool. Use it well. That was The 5 Elements of Effective Thinking by Edward B. Berger and Michael Starbird, broken down into its most powerful lessons. Which of the 5 elements are you going to practice first? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this summary, make sure to like this video, subscribe to 10-Minute Books, and tap the bell so you never miss our weekly deep dives into life-changing books. Remember, every great achievement begins with a single thought. Think better, and you will live better.